Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf. You remember way back, the beginning of the year 2020, when we didn't even know the word corona other than for the beer? I started this project called Reading the Decade, in which I would read a nonfiction and a fiction book for each year published between 2010 and 2019, and I would make a video of it. About it, I think, not of it. It's warm, as you can probably see from my outfit, and it's murky, and I'm sweating, and that's not good for my brain. Anyway, so reading the decade. And I did that for 2010 and 2011, and I made 2 videos. If you're interested, the links are down below. And then shit happens. And I don't know, the project sort of got, forgotten or on the back burner because, reasons. But I decided to pick it back up again. So I will read for the rest of the year. I will read 2 books for these remaining years, and I started in June with the year 2012. So 2012, and just to remind ourselves what the project was about, I would pick a fiction and a non-fiction book published in that year that made a splash, best-selling, or, a lot of people reading it, and I didn't read it, but I want to read it. So for 2012, my fiction pick was A.M. Holmes' May We Be Forgiven. A.M. Holmes is an American author born in 1961, and I read quite a couple of her books, also her memoir, The Mistress's Daughter, and I like her style. She is quite quirky and funny, dark humor. So May We Be Forgiven was one of those books that I definitely wanted to read, published in 2012, but didn't. And I loved it. It was a buddy read with Adam from Memento Mori, and we both really enjoyed it. It's set in the present time, so back then, the early 2010s, and our main character is Harold Silver, a 50-something university professor specializing on history, Nixon, but he is in a marriage that doesn't really work, and he has this brother, younger brother George, and really successful TV producer, And the book opens on a Thanksgiving party with the family, and shit just hits the fan. Everything goes like wrong in a way you can't believe. George is out of the picture for a while. George's wife also, I don't want to give spoilers, and the point of it is that Harold, our Harry, who is not really, he's a bit awkward in many ways, but he ends up that he has to take care of his brother's 2 children, a teenage boy and a girl. And then the book from there is just this incredibly hilarious, almost surrealistic ride of all the things that happen and go wrong. It's really funny, darkly funny, and it doesn't have much of a plot. It's more this incident, what happened to Harry after, the whole family explodes or implodes. And I loved the way that A.M. Holmes gave us this character, but also a picture of the time. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not a book for everyone, I would say, especially not if you don't like the over-the-top humor and over-the-top incidents. Then at a certain point when you think, well, I don't think anything else can go more wrong than it already had. Well, Holmes comes up with something that goes totally wrong. It's a little reminded me of Iris Murdoch's Dark Tales, when you have these middle-aged men and everything around them explode. So if you like Iris Murdoch, you might enjoy this one, but I had really a lot of fun reading it together with Adam. So that was my fiction pick for 2012. And the nonfiction pick was Rebecca Stott's Darwin's Ghost, The Secret History of Evolution. I've talked about this book in a previous video, so you might have seen that, but for those of you who haven't, Rebecca Stott was born in 1964. She teaches literature in England. She wrote a biography of Darwin also, and this book explores, I mean, not the biography obviously, but this book explores the evolution of the evolution theory. So she covers scientists, naturalists, philosophers from Aristotle all the way up to the mid-19th century, when Darwin published his famous Origin of Species in 1859. And we learn about these various people, almost all of them men, of course, because back then women, didn't exist, I think. And what is interesting is Rebecca Stott shows us that this idea that Darwin had, his theory of evolution, that species developed and evolved, wasn't that new. There were bits and pieces of this theory all the way back to Aristotle. At least the question was asked, how do species develop? Are they really just brought into life by some supreme being like, God? And that's that. And a lot of people, which I find interesting, questioned that already at the time of Aristotle. So we learn how slowly this theory that then Darwin built into a real system with his natural selection, the mechanism that makes evolution work. But we learn about previous naturalists and scientists and philosophers who pondered the same question. And we also learn how many obstacles this theory had to overcome, especially religious obstacles, because obviously the idea that God created the world and created the species doesn't really fit with the idea that species evolve and develop. I thought the book was fascinating. It was really engagingly written, so not dry at all. And these fascinating people that we encounter in the book was a real joy to read, and it was very educational. It was also a buddy read, by the way, with Heidi from my reading life, which made the experience even more enjoyable. And in addition to the two books that I didn't read and now have read, I also always give a recommendation of a book published in the respective year that I have read previously to this project and really loved, so a favorite of mine. And for this year, 2012, it's a fiction book, Karen Thompson Walker, The Age of Miracles. Karen Thompson Walker is an American author born in San Diego, and she teaches creative writing in Portland. The Age of Miracles is sort of a dystopian fiction book, coming of age, combined with a coming of age. So our main character is Julia, and she is 11 when the book opens. And the event that is at the center, the premise of the book, is that the Earth's spin, so the rotation time of the Earth, begins to slow down. First, it's only a couple of more minutes added to each day, but it goes slower and slower and slower. So when we are halfway through, the night is already 48 hours, and then you have a 48-hour day. And the book explores the question how to deal with it. How do you make your life when this happens? There are various groups who try to do it differently. For instance, the Julia and her parents, like most people, they just keep their normal 24-hour rhythm, never mind whether it's day or night. So they will wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, like they always do, even though the night will continue long into the afternoon. But there are also other people who feel the best way to deal with this is to adapt to the new rhythm. So you would stay awake for 24 hours while it's sunlight, and then you would sleep for 24 hours. And within this, Julia, of course, 11 at the beginning and 10, more than 10 years older when the book ends, also, encounters her first love, school, things like that. I really enjoyed this book. I know that a lot of people didn't quite get along with it, especially because it doesn't offer a solution. So it's a more open-ended approach to this question. And if you're not into that, then this book is probably not for you. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can recommend it for people who are willing to go on this wild ride without expecting any, clear-cut solution at the end. So this was the year 2012, and as in my previous two videos, I will also give you sort of a preview of what I will read next. And because I slacked after the first two videos, I have to pick up the pace a little bit, which means that I will read in July both years 2013 and 2014, and hopefully make a video towards the end of this month or beginning of August. So if you want to read along, if you're interested, please feel free. My picks for 2013 are fiction, Joe Baker, Longbourn. That's a Pride and Prejudice novel from a different perspective. So from the perspective of Sarah, one of the maids. And I have been meaning to read this book for a long time, and it fits really well, by the way, in July, because July is also Jane Austen July, a read-along organized by Katie from Books and Things. And this is not, of course, a Jane Austen novel, but, I think it fits with the theme. My nonfiction book for 2013 is a memoir, Temple Grandin, The Autistic Brain. Temple Grandin was born in 1947, and she was diagnosed with autism when she was in kindergarten. I love books about the brain. If you're following my channel at all, you know that. And it sounded fascinating. There has been a movie made, by the way, about Temple Grandin's life. And I'm just very interested in that aspect of the brain. So those are the two books for 2013. And for 2014, my two books are the fiction book Kintu by Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi, a book about an Ugandan tale, the lore of Uganda starting in the 18th century. And this book is also a read-along, a summer read-along organized by Didi from Brown Girl Reading. I will leave a link to her channel and the Goodreads group down below. And I also did that, by the way, for the Jane Austen read-along organized by Katie. So Kintu is my pick for the fiction book of 2014, and the nonfiction book is Natural History, Elizabeth Colbert, The Sixth Extinction, about the extinction event happening now. So the impact of humankind on the planet and on other living beings on the planet. Looking forward to all four of those. Fingers crossed that I will actually manage to read all four of them in July, because otherwise I will not make it with this project, finishing this project in December. But anyway, so this was my picking it up, starting again video for my Reading the Decade project in the year 2012. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe you will read along with me in July with my 4 picks for 2013 and 14. In any event, I'm looking forward to your comments. I hope you're all safe and healthy, and I'll see you soon in the next one.